This thing reads like stereo instructions. Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. So, yeah. As many of you likely already know who watch the channel regularly, I absolutely love Beetlejuice. And so, when the sequel came out, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, I obviously rushed to the cinema in order to see it. But you know what? I don't think I liked it. Hi guys, welcome to, or welcome back to, Hydra Collectables, where we let our geek flag fly. So first of all, let me just say that I was very entertained by this movie, and loved everyone's performance that was involved. I loved that Lydia is still the main character of this movie, especially because I thought it would have been centred around Beetlejuice and Astrid in a kind of passing of the torch kind of way. But no, Beetlejuice only has eyes for Lydia, and has no interest at all in going after another underage girl, thank God. Now, despite my thinking that everyone involved was absolutely amazing in this movie, I do feel like Delia Deetz, for me at least, was a little over the top here in the sequel, and that's not to argue that I don't understand or get her character, I really do. However, I do much prefer her in that original movie. It's just slightly toned down, but still an eccentric at heart. As well as this, despite being great fun to watch, both characters of Dolores and Wolf Jackson weren't really needed for this movie. In fact, I would argue that if you took them both out, nothing plot-wise would really change. I loved that for whatever reason, I really didn't see the murder boy twist coming, as I genuinely believed that this was a kid who just liked 90s stuff and had bought the book from a garage sale. After all, we never really knew what happened to the Maitland's copy after the first movie. But despite my love of this plot point, I feel that he and the other villains involved in this story were just dispatched far too easily. It was all rather anticlimactic. So in the first movie, it is all too clear that Beetlejuice is the main villain. However, in this sequel, not so much. In fact, one could argue that Lydia has now made 2 deals with Beetlejuice over the course of the franchise, and he has fulfilled his end of the deal on both ends, with her now finding 2 ways to dupe him out of the deal. So one of my favourite things about that first movie is the lore and world building that they had created, and unfortunately for me at least, this movie just seems to skip over and change all that. And you know what? I get it. I'm nitpicking. And this was made by Tim Burton, and it's his world to alter and change should he see fit. But for me, it kind of ruined my enjoyment of this sequel. And what do I mean when I say this? Well, here are some examples, and again, I know I'm nitpicking. Example number 1. So in the first movie, we are told that people who commit suicide become civil servants in the afterlife. And yes, I know this was said by Otho, who is a living character, but it was also shown to be true in those other scenes. Beetlejuice was Juno's assistant, which to me always implied that he had killed himself. However, this sequel actually retcons that idea. Example number 2. It had always seemed to me that Lydia's mother had indeed died, and I thought this even before I ever saw the musical. I figured that that's why she was so morbid, and why she wanted to die herself in that first movie. This is also what gave that first movie such a happy ending, as not only did the Maitlands finally get the child that they always wanted, but she also got the parents that she needed. And while we're on the subject of the Maitlands, I get why they're not in this film, I really do. You couldn't have the actors aging over this period of time. But just having the characters say that there was a loophole, a convenient one at best, was such a cop-out in explaining their absence. After all, you could have had them get into trouble and be moved on by those in the afterlife due to them revealing themselves to Lydia and helping her become famous. Or you could have simply had them just being away. You could have had them go with Charles into the afterlife to deal with his unexpected death. There was a number of different ways that you could have approached this. As well as this, I also have various questions, such as how the murder boy ghost was able to change his clothes for his date with Astrid. Don't ghosts get stuck in the clothing that they died in? Beetlejuice aside, of course. And then how did Delia just appear in Death's waiting room without the need to draw a door or receive a handbook? I don't know, it all just felt very messy to me. Now I know when I voice these opinions, a lot of people just say, whoa, slow down, you're overthinking it, other fans don't care about that stuff, and I get it, that's true. But then I also get people say, what would you do different? So here it is. This is my idea of what this sequel should have been. Let me know your thoughts. If it were up to me, I would scrap the Beetlejuice origin story, along with his ex-wife Dolores. I would also scrap William Dafoe's character, and that whole investigation story arc, it just wasn't needed. I would introduce the murder boy ghost a lot earlier in the film, and only reintroduce Beetlejuice when Lydia realises that she needs his help in order to save her daughter. Put simply, I would have had the murder boy plot be the main story arc of this film, and he would have thus been the main villain of the movie. I would have had Lydia be too late to save Astrid, and so need to sacrifice herself and trade places with her daughter in order to bring her back into the world of the living, and this would have been a fitting end to the character of Lydia Deetz, not to mention the fact that her being dead would also null and void the contract between her and Beetlejuice, and thus keep him trapped in the Netherworld. Add to this the fact that despite all their clashing in life, the story would have ended with a mother's sacrifice for her child, and I think you've got a really beautiful plot point and a really nice way to pass the torch over for a next sequel. But hey, these are just my thoughts, and you're either going to love this idea or hate it, but regardless, we got what we got, and there's no changing that. And I know that many of you out there that will see this movie won't mind nor care about these things the same way that they bothered me. I am certainly in the minority here, and like I said, I did still enjoy this movie. I just don't think I'm going to be in a rush to watch it again, nor repeatedly like I do with the first movie. Thanks for watching.